Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are doing well, and I'm so happy that you are here, and I'm so excited to do today's video. It is going to be the all about my eyeshadow palette tag. I'm really excited. It did originate from, I think, possibly TikTok, but I know that Samantha March and Allie Glines actually collaborated together to do this tag. So I do thank them for, creating the tag and starting this on YouTube. I think it's really fun. It gets us, busy and going through our makeup collection and looking at our eyeshadow palettes. I had a lot of fun, like, going through my palettes and pulling through my collection. And let's go ahead and get started. I can't wait to share with you guys. So the first question in this tag is, share with us your newest palette. And my newest palette is the Sydney Grace Enduring Love palette, and I do have the light one because this palette actually comes in a light option or a deep option, which I think is really great. And so this is what the palette looks like. It is really stunning. I think it's a great take on an everyday palette with also some pops of color with that purple, green, and blue. And so I've really been enjoying this so far. I think the shimmers are so beautiful in this palette, and the mattes are also really buttery and really creamy. So I'm definitely really excited to continue using this and learning more about the Sydney Grace formula. So this is definitely my newest palette. So the next question is your oldest palette. And so this is the ColourPop Give It To Me Straight palette, and this is what mine looks like here. And I'm sure you guys are very familiar with the Give It To Me Straight palette. But anyways, I tend to really keep my collection pretty current. I tend to declutter quite a bit and pass things along to friends and family. And so I really try to curate my collection and rotate through everything. And so really, this is my oldest palette, and I think I got it in 2018. Whenever I was in college, I used a lot of the makeup that I had with me from high school. And so I was using a lot of my Lorac palettes, my Urban Decay palettes. And so I went ahead and, whenever I got my first real job out of college, of course I had more income, and so I was able to splurge on things like makeup. And so I really started to build my collection, I feel like, in 2018. And I feel like that's whenever I bought this palette. I'm pretty sure it was in 2018. But yeah, I mean, this is an overall beautiful palette. The formula is so great. Everybody knows ColourPop and loves ColourPop. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this is my oldest one, and that's why I'm working on, trying to use this one as much as I can. The next one is your most expensive palette. My most expensive palette is definitely my Natasha Denona Biba palette. This palette, I'm going to tell you right now, is in this video quite a bit, but this is what the palette looks like. It is so stunning. It's one of my favorite palettes in my collection, and this is definitely a very expensive palette, running for $129. So it's definitely really pricey. I do not think that the palette is worth $129. I do think that it is a high-end formula. This experience with the palette is very unique. The mattes are so beautiful. I love all of her formulas, all of the different textures within the shadows. So I definitely think that it's something special. I just don't think it's worth the price. If this was at maybe like a $60 price tag, it would be better. I think it's really great. And so this is definitely my most expensive palette, and I'm going to keep this right next to me because it's going to come back in this video. So next is my most affordable, and this is literally a broken record. I'm so sorry, but it is my e.l.f. Bite Size palette. I have the shade Cream and Sugar, and this is what it looks like. This is going to run you for $3. So what a price difference between my Natasha Denona and this e.l.f. palette. I'm going to tell you right now, don't let the $3 price tag fool you, because this competes with high-end for sure. This is a really great formula. If you can find one with a good color story that will work for you, that you will use, I think it's definitely worth checking out. And if it's something that doesn't work out for you, it was only $3, right? So it's not, too disappointing if it doesn't work out for you, but this is definitely my most affordable. So every day, this is something that, I didn't want to be too repetitive in this video. However, I feel like my most everyday palette is my Natasha Denona Biba palette. And I have a few reasons for that. I know I just showed it, but I have a few reasons for that. So First off, this is a very expensive palette. It is one that I want to get my use out of it because it was so pricey. I'd hate for it to be sitting there and then me not using it and completely waste $130. So I also know that because her formula, and I mean, I don't know this, but her formula is so creamy, and she has these like creamy mattes in her palettes, that I don't know that if they go past the expiration date, if they're going to perform the way that they are now. Mine is not even a year old, and so I really want to get the most use out of it whenever it's fresh, you know, and it's been in my collection for not that long. And so this is my everyday palette because I would so use this every day. If I didn't have as many eyeshadow palettes as I do, that I had to rotate through them so regularly, I would reach for this one all the time. It is so beautiful. I love using this one. I love that I get neutrals and I get warm tones, but I also get cool tones as well. So this is the one I would reach for every day if I didn't have all of the eyeshadow palettes that I have. So this is my everyday palette. My most colorful. This was a little bit tricky for me. I don't have a whole lot of color within my collection. The colors that I do have are pretty muted. I don't have any rainbow palettes or anything like that. But I think my most colorful would be my BH Cosmetics Aurora Lights palette. It was between this and my Wanderlust palette from Profusion. And this is what this one looks like. I chose this one because it's an all metallic palette, and a lot of these have the duochrome like shift within the shades. So I feel like, yes, this looks purple, but whenever you put it on the eyes, it has so many dimensions to it, right? Because it has the duochrome shift. So I think this would be by far my most colorful palette. I am looking at this palette now and I'm just like, wow, I need to use this more. I think it is so stunning. BH Cosmetics formula is really great, but their baked formula is so good. So this is definitely my most colorful. My smallest palette, going back to the e.l.f. Bite Size palette, this is definitely by far my smallest one. It is exactly what they named it as. It is a bite size. Like, it is just so cute. It just looks like the size of like those fun size Hershey's. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? But it's just really, it's adorable. The packaging is great. And it doesn't feel too cheap. I think it could break if you did drop it, but this is by far my, my smallest one, and I think it would be great for traveling though as well. My biggest palette would be my Profusion palettes, the ones that are in this square shape. This one right here is my Sunkissed one, but my Mirage palette is the same size. And so this is by far my largest palette. I tend not to go more, than this. I like more medium-sized palettes, so a palette that's about maybe 12 to 15 shades is kind of where my sweet spot is. I don't like it too small where I feel limited on the shades, but I also don't like it to be overwhelming. Now, I'll tell you one thing. I will continue to buy these huge palettes from Profusion because they're super affordable, and I kind of get that color fix, if you know what I mean. So this is definitely my largest palette, and it'll probably stay these Profusion ones because I'm just not one to really purchase too large of a palette. So going back to the Natasha Denona palette, this is the Best Memory. So the reason this one is my best memory is because my husband bought this for me for my birthday last year, and he heard about Natasha Denona because he kind of would overhear my YouTube videos, and I would show him, babe, like, this palette is $130, and he'd be like, what? And I'd be like, I know, right? So whenever I told him that I was thinking about getting one, he was just like, you should get it. Like, if it seems like it's a formula is out of this world, or like you want to try it, like, let's go. So we went to Sephora together, and he walked in the store with me, and he like patiently waited for me as I was swatching the palette and deciding whether or not I wanted to like take the leap. So I'm so glad that I did. This will probably be the only one that I purchase unless the Metropolis one goes on sale. I think the Metropolis one is so beautiful, but this is probably the only one that I do purchase. I do tend to buy the Alter Ego dupes that they have because Alter Ego's formula is so good. and I feel like I kind of get my Natasha Denona fix with this palette, but this one is definitely my best memory because, you know, he wanted to get something this nice for me. So definitely love that one. Love this one for that reason. And I want to use it as much as I can for that reason as well. So the palette that's worth the hype, I have two here. Couldn't decide. And the reason I chose two was because I originally wanted to choose the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette. So this palette, whenever it launched, was it last year? I think this was a 2019 palette, I think. Whenever this launched, a lot of people were just like, ugh, like, no, like, it's just like another neutral palette with this pop of pink. And then people started trying it, and they started putting the shimmers on their lids, and they started falling in love with it. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like, I need this. So I bought it, and it is really good, you guys. I mean, this palette is amazing. The shimmers in this palette are like no other ABH palette, in my opinion. I know that a lot of people talk about the like Master Mario palette, I think that's what it was, like way back whenever they collabed with him. So I've never tried that palette, but this one is really, really good. I think the shimmers are so stunning. This is kind of like my holiday palette, the palette that I want to wear on special occasions, because I know that this shimmer formula is just really going to shine on the lids. So I think this one is definitely worth the hype, but I did choose another one, and it's again from ABH. It's the Jackie Aina palette. This one did receive a lot of hype, and I think it's worth the hype. This is a great, great palette. I absolutely love all of the looks that I come up with. I think it's such a unique color story, but they complement each other so well. I feel like, you know, you can just basically split up like sections of the palette to basically create a look really easily. So I think both of these from ABH are definitely worth the hype, in my opinion. And I think ABH has some really, really great palettes. And I think this is kind of funny because the next thing I'm going to talk about is an ABH palette that I think is not worth the hype. And I feel like so many people are going to disagree with me, but this is just my humble opinion. And I do not think the Soft Glam palette from ABH is worth the hype. There's nothing wrong with the formula. There's nothing, like, it works fine. Like, there's nothing in that sense. I just do not reach for this palette. I don't know what it is. I just never reach for it. And I don't love the looks that I come up with. I'm not obsessed with it. I'm really close to decluttering this because I know so many people would love this palette. And so I think I'm going to continue playing with it, and if I just continue to not love what I come up with, I'm going to declutter it because I have so much makeup. Why do I keep something that doesn't bring me the, you know, the joy that I want makeup to? So this one is not worth the hype in my opinion, but a lot of people love it. So take my opinion with a grain of salt. Okay, so the next question is a favorite palette from a favorite brand. So I was sitting here and I was trying to figure out what is a favorite brand of mine. So not my favorite brand, but just a favorite. So I decided to go with ColourPop. I love their Pretty Fresh Tinted Moisturizer. Their, you know, concealer is pretty good. I love their powder, their translucent powder. I've also, you know, really enjoyed their lip products for the most part. They have really great brow products. So basically, I just went ahead and decided on a ColourPop palette. So I was going to choose my Going Coconuts, but I feel like a lot of people chose that one for their ColourPop favorite. So I went ahead and chose the Through My Eyes palette, and this is the collaboration that ColourPop did with I Love Sarai, or I Love Sarai did with ColourPop. But this palette is just so stunning. I don't use it as much as I should, but this is still one of my favorite color stories that ColourPop has come up with. And I just think it's so unique. I think it's so beautiful. I also think that it's a palette that you can use between seasons. You know, it has some of that spring and summer feel, but it also has fall and winter as well. But this is just a beautiful palette. It's one that I will always keep in my collection because I think it is so unique to my collection as well. So this is definitely my favorite one from ColourPop. So going back to my most used, I have probably two answers for this one. So my most used, I thought of this in two different angles. So the first angle I took was, what is one that I gravitate towards the most? What is one that I want to use the most? And it's the Natasha Denona Biba, because I just love it so much that I want to use it. Like, I always want to use it, you know? So this one is definitely my most used when it comes to me actually picking out a palette. Another thing is that I consistently go through my palettes, and especially now with this quarantine, I feel like I'm using whatever palette I want to, because makeup makes me happy, and considering the situation I'm in, or that we're all in, I want to have fun and just pick out what I'm feeling that day, so I love the Biba, and that is definitely one that I gravitate towards the most over all of them. But if I'm technically speaking, the most used is my Give It To Me Straight from ColourPop, because I have hit pan, I have significant dip in this shade. This one, Downright, also has a dip. It's kind of hard to tell, but this is the one that's most used. It also has been in my collection longer, so it's easier that this is, most used. But yeah, I just decided on those two, but I guess you could take that different ways. But that is everything. I had a lot of fun with this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have a YouTube channel, or if you just want to do it for fun in the comments, I will try to leave the tag questions down below so that you could do it if you would like. I do, suggest that you do it. It's a lot of fun to go through your makeup collection and go through your eyeshadow palettes. But thanks again to Samantha March and for Allie Glines for starting this tag. I think it was so much fun, and if you did enjoy today's video, please do give it a thumbs up. I also hope that you consider subscribing. I would love to have you as a part of my channel, and I look forward to interacting with you guys in the comments, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!